Okay. Hi, everyone. I am Denise Gadsden. I'm super excited to be here. I know, but it's just really great when we can still kind of put events on like this. So I'm joining you from Optum. As our panelists kind of talk to everybody, you'll probably hear them kind of switch from UHG and Optum. So UHG is kind of the top tier. It stands for United Health Group. And when people hear United Health, they think about the insurance company. And so while that is a part of, the entire kind of enterprise, Optum is the part of the organization that I'm a part of, and that's kind of highly focused on the tech side. So even though our focus is so tech heavy, we still kind of just at our grassroots just care about, connecting people and ideas across healthcare just to be able to create better care. So we have like a bunch of different people that are part of Optum, like nurses and providers, on kind of the clinical side. And then you have folks like me who are like a part of the support teams and like the engineering teams, people like that. So that kind of diversity is what makes up Optum. And that kind of brings me to Shades. So Shades is the diversity inclusion group that I'm a part of. And so is Stacy and Patty, who's a panelist tonight. And so our whole focus is obviously to, about diversity and inclusion, but we really just want to strive to create a space where people feel like they can bring their whole selves to work. So whether you're young or more seasoned or, Black, white, Latino, whatever you identify with, we want to try to create the type of environment where you're comfortable kind of bringing that part of you to work. And so, like I said, myself, Patty, and Stacy Boswick are the chairs of Shades, and we're just super excited to be joining everybody tonight and kind of putting this event on. And we have some really great panelists. I mean, I'm biased because they're obviously a part of our group, but they're seasoned vets, I feel like, but have really great information to share with everyone, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for that welcome, that introduction, Denise. And before I switch it off and hand it off to James to do intro as well, I'd love to just thank you all for joining today. So if you just joined in, feel free to put it in the chat where you're joining from, whether you're here in Austin, Dallas, Houston, outside of Texas, please let us know where you are joining in from. And for those that do not know, my name is Michael Ward Jr. I am the president and CEO of Austin Urban Technology Movement. So very excited to be partnering with United Health Group, the Optum Group, but also with Prospanica to bring you all once again another event as we talk about diversity, equity, inclusion within the tech space. And we know right now COVID-19 has possibly changed some plans on your end, whether it's changing your work environment, whether it's changing your colleagues you work with, maybe it's even changing your job. And we wanted to continue to expose you all to the tech industry, whether that's inside the healthcare space or if that's in other industries and other areas. So please continue to be engaged, stay out throughout the event because we'll have some breakout rooms and some giveaways as we continue on the conversation. But before we hand it off to our moderator and get started with the panelists, I do want to hand it off to James Moreno to share and introduce himself as well.
Hey, thanks a lot. I wanted to just partner with this amazing group of people to be able to help promote career development on behalf of Prospanica. We are an organization that exists primarily to help people achieve their educational, their professional, and social potential. And we've been very blessed to have Optum as a partner. Tonight, we're just going to be supporting this event by donating some fun giveaways after some of the breakout sessions. So again, we're excited to be here and be a part of this presentation. And again, if you need anything or information about Prospanica, please feel free to reach out.
Perfect. So we definitely want to make this as engaging as we can. So as questions come up throughout the panel, feel free to put them inside the chat. We have individuals both from the Autumn team and the Optum team that will be making a note of those questions that come up, and we'll get to them as needed. So please feel free to reach out via the chat. But without further ado, I will hand off the reins to Issa White. Issa, it's on you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Issa. I am the program director of the Austin Urban Technology Movement. Thank you for joining us this evening. It's really exciting to be back in my group of Autumn. To give you a little bit of background about myself, I started off with Autumn on our board in more of a volunteer role. Was working with Oracle where I met Michael. Had a chance to take over some leadership roles under the ERG groups for the Black ERG groups under Oracle. Discovered that that's where my passion was with DE and I. I did a little soul searching and wound up back with Autumn as a program director. So here I am. Excited to have everybody with us. Our panelists are phenomenal. Our giveaways we'll have later are great. And you as our attendees are the best. So do want to get a chance to introduce each panelist. First, we have y'all. You can show y'all's screen there. I'll let y'all go ahead and introduce themselves.
Yep. Hey, everybody. It is great to get connected. And Donald, I see you in the chat. So good to reconnect with you. Short story is I oversee our data and analytic products within the Optum Insight division at Optum, obviously a part of United Health Group. And that basically includes everything from product strategy to how we take products to market to our capital budget process, and ultimately making sure that we've got a profitable approach to what we're bringing to market. I am based here in Austin, Texas. I've got 3 kids growing as we speak. We've got a birthday tomorrow, so 11, 8, and 6. And the 2 things I usually say that are, outside of the professional circle, as I give an introduction. Number 1 is at Starbucks, I use the name James. So my Starbucks name is James. Sometimes it's just easier when you need a cup of coffee and you don't want to explain, the full background behind your name and history. Although y'all has been tremendous for me from a professional perspective. And then 2, I guess maybe a dirty secret about myself. I'm kind of militant about how the dishwasher gets organized within my household. And typically when I'm introducing myself to large groups, like those tend to be the 2 things people remember, more so than the product or portfolio that I oversee. So glad to be joining you all this evening.
Thank you. Thank you. I think I have my different quirks as well, dealing with the dishwasher or how towels are folded. It's like, I get it. Next, we have Patty. Sorry. Patty, would you mind introducing yourself?
Yes, so my name is Patty Jordan. I think I share an affinity with you and Michael in terms of Oracle. I started my career as an Oracle database administrator and currently lead a team of DevOps and CloudOps engineers within the Optum technology space. My team actually supports y'all's portfolio and been with the Optum for about almost 10 years now, the acquisition with the advisory board. Outside of work, I live in Austin now, moved from the DC.
Chess or checkers?
Okay.
I don't know about strengths, but the one that I play the most is chess. And that's from opportunity as well. My son's barbershop has a chessboard and we tend to play while we're waiting for his turn to be up. And it's also an easy game to play on the computer. So chess is what I tend to play more often than checkers.
For me, I never really learned to play chess real well. And I have 2 younger brothers, twin younger brothers. They learned early on, extremely bright. And the minute they were able to show me and then subsequently beat me, I was like, damn, so.
Okay, that's fair. I myself, I enjoy checkers, but I've been more interested in chess lately. Really the strategy of chess, not just trying to get the most pieces, but how to understand chess on a level where people can understand, what the next move is before you even play it. So on our next question, I wanted to know, did you teach yourself checkers or chess? And how does this apply to your career? Did you seek help when you were moving through the tech world or the tech industry through your jobs? Or did you have, either some kind of sponsor or ally help you out? Let's go with Patricia.
So did I teach myself how to play chess or checkers? No. My dad has actually been the one to teach us most of the games that we know, whether it's card games or chess or checkers. And so he's the one that taught us. If you knew my dad, you'd understand that he's more of a chess person as well. He's very strategic, very thinks 4 or 5 moves ahead. When it comes to my career, I've been more of a checkers player up until now. More opportunistic in terms of seeing the move that's right ahead and then jumping into it or having people help me out. I've had the benefit of having many mentors and leaders around me and advocates who've helped me get to where I am right now. And it's only very recently that I started being a little more strategic in terms of where do I want to go, what do I want to learn, versus what role do I want to play or what promotion do I want to get. So I guess I could say that it's mostly been checkers up to now, but I'm slowly but surely shifting into chess mode.
Okay. What about you, Mark?
So again, like I said, since I never really learned how to play chess real well, the person who actually, oddly enough, taught me how to play chess were my younger brothers. But the person who taught me how to play checkers was my grandfather. And so for me, that also holds some very, really old, deep connections to him and spending a lot of time with him when I was a young kid. When my younger brothers got old enough, there were often times where he would collect 2 or 3 different checkers boards. So we would all sit down, at a table, and we would all be playing. And so 2 of us would play, and then the winner would play the next person, and ultimately the person who won got to get some type of treat. What we didn't know is the minute he turned around from giving the winner the treat, he'd turn and give the others a treat as well. So it was kind of like a real good something I remember from my childhood. So
Definitely. Last but not least, y'all.
Yeah, we've done this panel a couple of times now. Although I have to admit, this is the first time we've been Zoom bombed, so that's a little disconcerting. But last time I shared pretty openly, I learned how to play chess at a funeral. I believe it was my great grandfather, and there was just some downtime in that event. I was pretty young, probably 5 or 6 at the time. But I, always really valued that somebody kind of took the time with a small kid to teach them a relatively complex game, during what's ultimately a confusing situation to process when you're young. I think with respect to career, I certainly like to think that I play chess. I think from time to time I probably vacillate between the 2 games, but at least across the long term of my career, I like to think 3 or 4 moves ahead. And I would definitely say none of that would have been possible without resources or allies as I've worked my way through my career. And I think that's both folks that I have reported to, people that I have been partnered with. Candidly, I think often there's times that I look even at staff that have either more junior roles or roles that you wouldn't quite expect that could contribute something to my career. And for me, it's really been kind of an all the above type approach. I really do seek to learn from everybody, as well as really cultivate a set of folks that can both advise and assist.
First start a new game. What is your strategy? So in terms of your career, how did you apply that to your field? I guess what advice would you share with someone who's starting out later in their career, essentially how to start that new game? Patty?
I think typically I try to get the lay of the land. And this is when I get a new role, when I start a new job. I can't say later in the career because I've been in this career for about 20 some years. But really, I try to get the lay of the land. I try to understand who the players are, so what my chess pieces are, understand like who has the political capital, who understands, who's been there the longest, who knows where the bodies are buried. So just really trying to understand who I can leverage, as well as learn from, and also just trying to understand like what is my role, like what are the strengths that I can bring to the table. To really succeed in that role. So my advice would really be just to don't just go in guns blazing and think that you have all the answers. Really come in with the question mindset, not questioning, but questions. Make sure you ask the questions, make sure you observe, make sure you understand what all the parameters, what most of the parameters are. And then I think that will definitely make you more successful, because things happen and things developed for a reason, right or wrong, right? Like just because things might not be best practice doesn't mean that it's wrong. There's a reason why things are the way that they are. Try to understand that, and you'd be a better ally and partner to everybody else versus coming in and solving all the problems.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I agree. What about you, Mark?
So, in thinking about what y'all and Patty said, one of the things that I can relate to the checkers metaphor is that, when you come into a new position, whether you're brand new out of college or whether you're, 20 years into your career, sometimes when you're starting checkers, maybe you're looking for a couple of really quick wins. So, sometimes checkers gets off to a really, feverish pace. You get a few moves and then all of a sudden you realize that you're either ahead of the game or you're behind the game. But I think once that happens, much to Patty's point, you start really figuring out what's going on, and then things kind of even out. So there's the initial ramp up, and it gets real quick, and then all of a sudden it'll level off. But I think sometimes those initial wins, as long as you play correctly and you play based on what you've learned in the past, can sometimes score some really good points for you. Volunteer for something. Put your name out there, get involved with something that may be just on the outside of what your core responsibility is. And then that gives you that opportunity for, like I said, the quick win, but then lets you start building those relationships that allows you to, strategically start looking a little bit further out.
Definitely. And last but not least, y'all, what about your strategy?
Yeah, I think anytime I'm starting new, I mean, if you think of any game, typically what they explain for a game is the rules. And so it's more of how to play and, how the pieces move. And it's a little bit less of the strategy. And so I think somewhat similar to Mark and Patty, when I'm first doing something either as a game or within my career, I'm trying to figure out what are all the unwritten and unspoken ways that things get done. And then, what is the, organizational approach from a career perspective or from a game perspective? Like, what are the potential strategies that you can leverage to be successful? And so I guess, first starting, I would probably describe that broadly as I'm going through a learning process. In my career, I've found that folks, it's you got to learn to ask really good questions. And you've got to, be willing to make yourself vulnerable as you're asking those questions, right? At times, admitting that you don't know something or that you don't yet understand something, so that you can really pick up and learn, those different pieces and components. And, what I've found is that there are good and bad ways to ask questions, at least in terms of, making you look smart, even, in a moment potentially where you really don't yet have a clue what's going on.
Definitely agree. Those are all really good answers, and I like the different approaches. What we want to do now is for our guests, we're going to split you up into different groups based switch it to different panelists into 3 groups. And then in those groups, you're going to then have a discussion either on their responses to either one of these questions, or if you have anything that's related to a topic, you can go ahead and share it during that time. And I hope you had some really good conversations there, talking about your strategies and how you have approached your career thus far, or if you plan on making moves here in the future. Next, we have our first round of giveaways. All right, so I'll go ahead and rattle off what we're giving away here in a second. For the first giveaway, we're going to be giving away a Starbucks gift card and a Optum branded screen cover, video cover. I think I said that correctly.
Yes.
Yes. All right. So, Michael, go ahead and let's get going. Able to do the spin. Okay, Shakira Ali, if you are here, say something in the chat. Let us know, because we're going to contact you directly to let you know that what you won and how to get that to you. All right, congratulations. All right, let's go. Do we have a Shakira Ali in the chat to make sure? If you could put a message, no Shakira. Okay, let's do it again. All right. Stephanie. Do we have a Stephanie Brozick? No, Stephanie. All right, probably some of those names were from the first group. All right, spin again. Cross your fingers, increasing your chances of winning. David Serrato, I know you have David.
Yeah, that's me.
Congratulations.
Thank you,
All
thank you,
right.
thank you.
All right. Congrats, David. Okay, Denise, Denise will contact you, David, so stay close. Next, we have another spin. We have another gift to give away. We have 3 gifts to give away. Congrats, Morgan.
Yay.
You just won. I can tell you. My chat will slow down. You just won Optum branded water bottle.
Ooh, score. Thank you, Optum.
All right.
Some
Say
swag.
hi, people. Okay, and another giveaway. Go ahead and spin the wheel for us, please. This is for a sponsored gift card for Katie. I'm gonna see if I say this right. Arpetta? I forgot how to say it. Please correct me, James.
I can't help you there. I would probably mispronounce it as well.
Okay.
Is Katie here?
Katie, do we have Katie? I'm clicking through. I don't see a Katie. Let's do it again.
Yeah, so this is for arepa dealers, arepas.
Arepa. There, thank you.
Yeah.
Arepa.
They're Venezuelan.
Thank you. Oh, okay, I didn't know that. Is it okay, Jalen Turner? I think that's Jalen from Oracle. Jalen. Is she here? Don't know. I'm looking through. I don't see a Jalen Turner.
So,
let's keep it rolling.
Yeah, I hope you guys get excited with our chances improving. Somebody's about to make out $50 gift card for dinner from some amazing food. Yeah.
Andre Rogers, are you here? Nope, let's keep going. Sarani, if I'm saying your name correctly. Okay. We're gonna do a couple more spins. We're gonna keep it moving here. I do want to give this to somebody though. This is a really cool, make it yourself. Can you say it again for me, please? Lindsay Hackney. I know Lindsay's here. Yeah, there goes Lindsay. Congratulations. You're on mute, but I see your name.
Okay, great. Lindsay, we will again email you a gift certificate for $50 for that with the registration email that you used. Congratulations.
Guys, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, and all right. We have one more item, but we can add that to the next group. Okay, so now, next set of questions. As it relates to chess and checkers, you have to make sacrifices in order to advance. So what are some sacrifices you've made in your career in order to advance? And then what are some of the lessons that you've learned from those sacrifices that you've made? Y'all. Might be on mute. Yeah, you're still on mute. There you go.
Hey, is that better?
Yes.
So, two things. Number one, I'm an optimist, for those of you that know me or will get to know me. And so, I genuinely don't feel that I have had to make, crazy sacrifices in my career. Generally, I've felt very fortunate to be, choosing from different versions of good. And I actually coach a lot of folks that I mentor that most of the choices that we have, by and large, from a career perspective, are different versions of good outcomes for you. But one thing that I definitely feel like I've had to learn how to sacrifice to be successful is my ego. I like to think of myself as a humble person, but I know that I have an ego that pops up every now and again. And it's definitely been something that, as I work through different parts of my career journey, it impacts me in different ways. So I would say, early in my career, there were times, there was one time in particular where somebody got promoted ahead of me at a time where I thought, I deserved the promotion. And it had been a time where I've been traveling and really worked about as hard as, I knew how to work in any given year. And that was a good moment where I had to, kind of step back and realize that, number one, I was playing a longer game, and number two, that, there's kind of direct peer-to-peer comparisons where it's kind of my ego versus my perception of somebody else, weren't helpful for where I was trying to go and what I was trying to do.
You sure?
Make sure you have your camera or your video on mute, please. Sorry, go ahead.
And I think the second, no, it's okay. Second, way that I think about that now is, there are often times where, I really have to be able to listen to my team or the people I'm collaborating with and be willing to be wrong, even if I've been advocating or, arguing a specific point. So I think it's kind of, learning how to sacrifice, some component of what you might, think is sacred within either your ego or your approach for the greater good. It's probably one of the biggest learnings I've had across my career.
Okay. What about you, Patty?
Kind of like you, I don't feel like I've really sacrificed a lot to grow my career. I know that I did take a step, we'll call it sideways, about 5 years ago, to get out of the 24/7 being on call, just to remain sane. After the third kid, it just couldn't stay up for work and at home. So I did make the hard decision at that time to kind of take a step sideways, and I went into the business side of things and managed a tier 1 functional support team. What I did learn is how the business operates and what the business cares about, so that when I was able to come back in the tech world, I was able to bring that with me and be, I guess, a better partner to the business. And so I guess what I learned is, while I was there, I decided to learn as much as I could about the business, about all the players, about all the roles there, so that I could be I guess, a better rounded professional at the time. And then I think another thing that I learned also is, and this is while I was still in the tech world, is there are going to be projects that are not cool. They're not the sexy projects, but they need to get done. And sometimes you just got to take that, I was going to say that L, but you have to take that one for the team and just really get it done. Because even in getting that done, you'll get the recognition that you want with the bigger, splashier projects. But again, you're going to learn, you're going to refine your project management skills. You're going to refine your relationship skills, and really continue to grow as your career, even without that splashy, sexy project. So those are the 2 things that I learned.
I would say everybody takes their turn. You have to go through the motions to get to, where you want to be. So I totally agree with that. What about you, Mark?
So as I was thinking about y'all and what he said, I think we've all sacrificed something of ourselves. I mean, it may not be, you know, family or something, huge, just something like that, health but, you know, as you go through your career, there's always things that you start to realize aren't the necessarily the most becoming parts of your characteristic, even though it's not intentional. So thinking about that, I was thinking, okay, well, what is it that over the course of time I've had to give up? And what I could really come to was I had to give up the idea that I had to do everything by myself. The fact that especially once you get into management and you have people working for you, and if you come from the line of business or the technology that you're now managing, it's sometimes very several things. One is it gave them an opportunity to learn. It gave them an opportunity to fail, but it also gave them the opportunity to know that their boss believed in them. Because if you're always doing something for one of your employees, eventually they're going to get the feeling that you don't trust them to do their job. And, I think failure is a huge part of success. We don't learn by doing everything right. We learn when we make mistakes. And so, despite the fact that I probably could have stepped in a couple times and probably, save some minor things along the way for someone, I think letting them go through the motion, letting them sort it out themselves was something that was more beneficial to them than me kind of, being the helicopter manager and guiding them the entire way. But for me, that was very difficult. Again, I'm a perfectionist. I want things done a very specific way. And, when they're not done, I either have to go back through and, tell people, hey, this doesn't meet my expectations. I need you to do it again. Or I have to know that, hey, maybe something else in that particular situation was more important than having something exactly the way I'm used to always having it. And I think as I've become, the more and more years I've spent managing teams, the more I've had to recognize that in myself. And I think it's good because it's also allowed me to grow, as an individual and especially as a manager within the fields that I manage. So
it's like learning on both ends, learning how to be
Yep.
a better manager, to release, let them, learn at the discretion that they'll get it right. And then also letting that person, expand and grow too as well.
Right.
Totally get that. Sometimes I guess you could relate that to y'all. It's might be either your ego or just you have that characteristic or trait, that type A personality where you want to make sure you manage everything the way you want it. So
Yeah.
that is something to learn how to let go, release, and sacrifice. Yeah, I agree. So as relates, oh, excuse me, thank you. So through the tough decisions, you had to make some kind of radical change that to change the game format. For example, COVID, or moving from traditional to in-person environments, or like we had a little Zoom bomb here. What are some ways the ways you adjusted to meet those changes and take them head on? Let's go with Mark.
So the one I can think of again that really stands out for me is never really expecting the company that you're working for to get bought out. And I've actually been in this situation several times. I've actually been the acquiring company. I've actually been the company that's been acquired more than once. And it changes the dynamic, especially, most recently when the company we worked for, the advisory board, was bought by Optum. We went from being a, mid-sized company with a very, very good reputation to being part of an extremely large company. And one of the dynamics that changed for our organization specific is that we were responsible for everything. If it, I used to tell people, if it plugged into the wall or, or plugged into an outlet, we managed it one way or another. Well, we had to let go a lot of those tasks because they were managed at more of a centralized fashion, because again, we were now just one part of a much bigger company. But the flip side to that is that really allowed us to focus and be good at the things that we were always really good at, and let go of some of those things that someone else was actually much better at. So we could get away from some of those things that we did maybe once a month, maybe twice a month, and focus on those things that we really need to be getting done every single day. But it was a huge change, and my team struggled with it for the first probably 6 to 8 months, really trying to understand what their role was in this new, organizational structure of having to switch constantly from one task to another because there was always, some little thing that needed to get fixed. They can now sit down for longer stretches and work on projects that take more time or more effort or more concentration.
Definitely. Definitely. Any comments, y'all?
Yeah, there's kind of a lot in this question. And so, I'll break it into kind of 3 pieces, I guess. Radical change to me, can kind of stand alone from tough decisions. I think, sometimes actually, when you're going through a change, there aren't as many decisions as you would want to have in that process, right? It's, to Mark's point, it's you're being acquired, or there's been a, restructuring that's, occurring, kind of outside of your control. And so from a change perspective, I think there's, kind of 2 ways that I adjust and manage. The first is I always think it's dangerous to assume that any change, particularly a radical one, is going to be permanent. And so I can't tell you the number of times when, we're going through a big change and it may not be the, my preferred path. But, kind of the reminder is, big changes are kind of like the weather. They come, they go, it'll be different down the line. And so I think that's a really, healthy way to approach big changes. I think the other, component there is to, view it as a learning opportunity. So seek to understand why and what the benefits are and what the downsides are. But I think those are kind of the 2 things that bolster me through radical change. I'll add a third. You talked about kind of the Zoom bombing earlier, which I would equate that to noise. I mean, I have to admit it's pretty disconcerting. In some of the quiet moments here, I've been thinking like, wow, like who has time in their day to think about doing that and in such a hateful way, and what's going on in their world that's how they act in public. Or it's just surprising to me because I'm kind of sheltered from that stuff. But I think there's some good lessons is that, in any organization, you can be going through changes and you can have that type of disruption. And I think, you have to kind of put it into this noise category. And a lot of times if you pay too much attention to the noise, it knocks you off course from where you're trying to go. And then the third thing I would just say is, on tough decisions, this may be a little bit more personal to me, but to me, the hard decisions are somewhat the easy ones. I mean, they suck. You can see them coming, in your gut that you have to do something hard. I actually think the harder discipline is, at least for me personally, is working through the easy decisions efficiently. Either deciding, hey, I'm not going to decide, I'm going to let somebody else decide. I know Mark talked a lot about, really kind of delegating control, or just making sure that when somebody needs a small piece of information, a small decision from you to keep it going, that you take the time to keep them moving forward. So anyway, it's kind of 3 different perspectives. I thought there was a lot within that question.
Yes,
to put
I
out
agree.
there.
The bigger decisions, it's like you have to make a decision. So it's like the pressure makes you make a decision. The easy ones, I feel like you might have more options, or you probably don't take it as seriously as some of those major decisions. So I definitely agree with you on that. And like you said, equating some of the radical changes to weather, they say the most consistent thing is change. So expect for it just to happen and learn how to adjust. Patty, what do you think?
I definitely agree. One thing that I tend to do is to ground myself in what I know. And that's whether it's my skill set, whether it's my the people that I know, the facts that I know. So when there's, whether it's radical change, whether it's a tough decisions, like what do I know, what do I control, and then go from there. You saw a few seconds ago how I'm juggling family and work commitments nowadays, but it's really just, and I was talking to, I think it was Stacy about this the other day, is like, I've learned to show myself some grace, and it's also to convey that grace to my colleagues as well. We're all going through a tough time. And that's how I tend to approach even difficult situations. Like when someone spouts off or when it seems tougher than it needs to be, I ask myself, like, where's this person coming from? Where is this? How did we get to this point? Because when you ground yourself from that standpoint, it's harder to get emotional about it. Like you really start thinking through, okay, maybe this is why, maybe there's anxiety, maybe there's ambiguity, and then that makes it harder to navigate the situations versus, going from the emotional standpoint. And so I guess just to circle back is just really grounding myself in what I know and really just trying to remove the passion out of it and just get to the logical and the pragmatic.
Definitely. When in doubt, go with the facts. And last but not least, what is some of the best career advice you've received, or maybe best game advice you received on how to play chess or checkers, and how has that impacted your career and your game? And I'm sorry, Patty.
The best advice. I don't know if there's one best advice. I think the one I recall, and we were talking about it in the break room, is really, well, one is to advocate for yourself. It's very important for you to be self-aware and to do that self-introspection and really understand what you want to do and where you want to go. But then you can't expect other people to guess where that is, right? So just really advocate for yourself. And then even beyond advocating for yourself, find yourself a network that would advocate for you when you're not in the room. This is very good advice that I got at the Texas Conference for Women. I think it was about 2 years ago, because there's going to be a whole lot more conversations that happen when you're not there than there are when you are there. So you really need to find those people and make sure that your brand is known to your network so that they can be your advocates when you're not there.
Totally agree. And y'all?
Yeah, it's probably a little bit of a play on Patty's answer, but I think it's really important in your career to always have and manage your voice. So that's everything from having an opinion and being willing to state it either publicly or privately. I think it's a little bit of managing your brand and just when you show up, how do you show up? What's that voice? What's the kind of character and intent behind the words that you're saying that you bring to the table? And I think that's such a critical part of careers and something that my best coaches and mentors have always challenged me on. And ultimately, I think it's about making that voice incredibly authentic, which I think is about probably the hardest part in all of this. And I wouldn't want to sugarcoat it. I don't know that that anybody is authentic 100% of the time, right? It's a hard skill to master. And I think, particularly, there are environments where it is, hard or challenging to figure out how to be authentic. But what I've found is that anytime that you can get to that place in your, in your career and how you're managing your voice and how you're speaking and communicating to others, it really does lead to great things. And or in a worst case scenario, it could lead you to know that you're not in the right place if you're being super authentic and it's not being well received.
Thank you. And last but not least, Mark.
So I was thinking about this and in the sand and to simply stick by it. That if people see that you're a person of integrity, that will follow you. and that regardless whether things are going good for you or going bad for you, that as long as they see that you're consistent with how you carry yourself, how you speak to others, how you make decisions, that will gain you more from a points, a perspective of how people see you, and potentially how your career, how far you'll get in your career, than by choosing what's convenient and easy. Sometimes, standing by, your convictions is extremely hard, especially in the face of, either peer pressure or pressure from above you to choose differently. But if you do it, and if you do it with consistency, that the long-term way people will see you will always be affected by that. And I've always told the guys who, or the teams of people who work for me, that I don't ever expect that everything's always going to go your way. I don't expect that everything is always going to work out the way it should. But if they're always coming at things from the right perspective, if they're always on the side of doing the right thing, it is very easy for me to defend that as a position that, hey, we did as much as we could, we planned as much as we could, we practiced as much as we could, but we met things that were unexpected. It's easy for me to defend that position, even like I said, when things are going against you. Then, if I know that you were, cutting corners, or you hadn't done your due diligence, for something that you were supposed to be taking on, and I think ultimately those people, in my opinion, who work for me, who have always done that, have been the successful ones, who, at least under me, are the ones that I've given the opportunities to, the ones that I've given the rewards to, because they follow, very closely what I feel is the way that we should be conducting ourselves. Adam, you're speaking.
Oh, you said.
No, you said you're speaking.
You said we got you on mute.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, there you go.
Okay. I'm gonna get it by the end of the meeting, I promise. I gotta remember what I said. Man, I was saying I like what you said. I also like some of the chats that I'm seeing here, the advice shared in our chat. Some of the things that are being pointed out is consistency and integrity. This is my quote. They speak for themselves. To speak to what Mark was saying, being consistent. Somebody knows your work, they're going to know you, and they're going to recommend you based off what you're showing them. Due diligence. What else do we see? You're always creating your own reality, from Clifford. And one more before we split off here. I like habits are the compound interest. Stop moving. Habits are the compound interest of the self. 1% better every day results in much bigger gains than 1% worse for 50 days, and 50% better that day. Let that sink in. So as we split into our groups, same instructions, we're going to split up and discuss some of the areas of advice you like to share with each other, or you might have received yourself. Some ways you might have adjusted to some of those radical changes in your career or in your game, as well as, forgot the first question, as well as what are some sacrifices you might have made in order to advance your career.
I will reassign you to a new room. So feel free to come back to the main lobby, and I will connect you with a different panelist. If you want to stay in the same room, you're more than welcome to do that as well.
All right. And then we have one more prize. Donald is here, correct? Yes, okay. Yep. Last prize is another restaurant gift card for, I was practicing this. Arapeta No.
Arepa.
Arepa. Arepa.
Hey, there you go.
Ah, arepa. Okay, one more. Here we go. Daryl Freeman. Look at that. I know you're here. Saw your name. Congratulations. Enjoy. I'm jealous. I wanted to win that one, but it's cool.
Hey, Isa, I think I
Yeah.
left it off the list, but we actually have a power cord, carabiner power bank, and
Okay, we
then
can.
another webcam and Starbucks gift card if you want to give those two last things away as well.
Okay, we can do. Let's do 2 more rounds. So let's do the camera and the cover. No, the camera and the power cord together. And that will go to Laura Hernandez.
You don't have to give it to me. I'm part of Optum, so I will do it
Okay.
again.
You want to spin it again then?
Yeah, spin it again.
I bet she wouldn't be saying that if she was winning those arepas.
Right.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah, I would take them too.
All right, George.
George, is it George Addison? I think he just got off. He just texted me. Well,
What's too bad?
he's not on, right? Right? Couple more spins. Jennifer True, another optimist. All right. I think some of y'all need to log off so some of us can win, okay? Ray Davis, you already won, okay? Let's get a Tony or Donald Scott. Okay, what's this? Is fixed. Drew Castillo. Okay. Did Drew win last time?
I've not
Denise?
won yet, and I humbly accept.
No,
Okay.
he hasn't won yet.
Okay, good, good. Just making sure.
I think George Bell was asking if his name is there, and it is. I see it.
Yes. And the last Starbucks gift card goes to Claudia. Congratulations. Congratulations, everybody.
Thank you.
So Drew, you have the camera cover and the power cord, power charger. I'm sorry for calling it the wrong thing. And Claudia, you have the gift card for Starbucks. Now I do want to insert this here. The chime change, we are a little bit ahead of time, which is great. I want to go ahead and give it to Stacy really fast to share some of the
Share my video here. The folks go to our careers website. So it's United Health Group and it's for careers. You can Google it, very easy to find. I'll make sure to share it out as well. But if you go there, you can actually filter by Austin positions. We also have a bunch of telecommute positions as well. But even just looking at the Austin-based technology positions, a few that popped up, and Patty, shout out if one of these is on your team, because I think it is. We're hiring for Hadoop engineers. We're hiring for cloud engineers. We're hiring for integration developers. And let's see, I think we've got a business analyst position as well. And there's more as well. That's just kind of the top of the list that came up for me. And Patty, is it true that one of those positions is available on your team? Am I remembering that right?
You are correct.
So it's always helpful to know people who are hiring. Everyone here now knows somebody that's hiring one of those positions. So reach out to
And if
Patty.
you're not interested in FTE, we do have some consulting gigs as well, some contractor gigs. So reach out to me and I can connect you. I don't want to work with Patty, Mike.
Okay, as someone who was a former direct report of Patty, everyone should work for Patty. She's pretty amazing. I mean, yeah, she's pretty amazing. So are the other folks, but.
All right.
It's cool, Denise.
Thank you for that information. Is there Any other comments or maybe advice for those roles that have been we just shared just now from anybody from Optum?
The
Besides
other thing I was going to
Patty?
mention is beyond these roles.
Mhm.
I mean, Optum is a global company. You know, we're what are we like? Or United Health Group is like 350 something thousand people worldwide. You know,
Mhm.
there are opportunities in all different sectors within the United Health Group family. Again, United Healthcare, in and of itself, mostly focuses on the insurance side, and but there's all kinds of roles that, like Patty mentioned, some of them are full time, some of them are contract. There's consulting arms within Optum's services group that go out and perform much like the Accenture, Bearing Point type consulting companies with other healthcare providers.
Mhm.
You know, there's always opportunities popping up if you're interested in moving to some other location. Offices in more cities around the U.S. than I can count. So, like I said, there's definitely opportunities out there. They're always coming up. Like I said, take your time and look through them. And if you have questions, like I said, the people on this call would definitely, be willing to answer, some questions around our experience, and even if we have more insights into some of those positions. And right now, with the people who are on the panel, we have, Yaw, who more works from within the product realm, Patty, who's doing a lot of support at the engineering level and supporting the business products, and we have myself who's working within our organization that's supporting the technology on the back end, and we're just three small people in three small verticals within Optum. So there is a lot of opportunities out there.
Okay. And Michael, we have something we want to share on Stacy's screen. If you could share her screen really, really quickly here, please. Regarding the opportunities she just told us about.
Yeah, and if not, no worries. I just figured I'd show folks how to kind of navigate through to find these positions. And again, you've got, I think, Mark, Patty, Ya, and I, and Denise, we're all open to sharing our LinkedIn, our emails. Reach out.
We have that information to share.